in your master's or PhD in mathematics?
I wish it would be master's or PhD. I'm still in bachelor's degree.
Oh
So
wow! So I never realized that you're still taking your bachelor's, and
yeah, a couple years before I took care for my father. He was sick, so I was just working and taking care for him till he died. But then afterwards, I decided to study economics. But then I realized I'm really more into math and changed my degree into math, and here I am.
yes, I thought that you're taking already your PhD in math. No worries. But it's okay, Andrew. Just take your time, and then that's why I'm asking you this because, of course, sad to say, one of the most weakest thing that you can give me is math, of course, because I'm social sciences and also human kinetics. That's why when I studied my biomechanics, I had only a passing grade, not excellent. It's really borderline because I can do physics, but it will take me some time. But if it's mathematics, it will take me more time.
No, that's okay. I have same trouble with. I'm not so good in languages, and I struggle a lot. Before my math degree, I struggled a lot in economics. I had to take politics and also social science was a hard time for me because sometimes I do not really get it, to be honest.
That's all right. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, I'm just trying to arrange the live stream in few closing the windows because I have these two versions of my connection. One is on the phone and one is on the laptop. But the thing with my laptop is when I'm using Zoom, because of the memory problem, sometimes it just simply turns off. So
Mhm.
that's why I have this backup. So if that happens, then Andrew the broadcast or I will just transfer to the mobile version.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
Yes,
So
okay. So yeah, so that's the highlight, of course. Basic information about you, what you're doing, what is your event in athletics, and what did you achieve, if there's any in athletics, and then what athletic career, and then the transition from athletics to bodybuilding, and why bodybuilding, what things that have what common values of bodybuilding and athletics that you can share to, especially for our young athletes, and then how is it be to be a professional bodybuilding athlete, and also is it really possible to do bodybuilding, of course, naturally, and also more related to the fitness level, because of course we have always the stereotypes about bodybuilding that
yes,
it's all about enhancements, it's all about supplementation, but of course we also have the what we call the old school one, where it's all about training and nutrition. What character or attitudes or values that you learn from bodybuilding that might help, especially nowadays that we are on a pandemic, and of course what can we share also to the Filipino well, about your heritage, and of course some other things. Okay,
yes,
so that
yes.
would be
I,
the
I think I think this will be also a very long story because I started with track and field and swimming.
mhm.
So I did different kind of sports altogether, but my main strength was a sprint, 100-meter sprint,
Mhm.
and um, uh, j- I'm sorry, my English is not so good, so maybe you can help me
Okay,
out.
yes, we can tell more about it when we go live. So we will be live now in few minutes. With me is another coach. Yes, his name is York.
Hi, maybe I can see some of your picture or video. It
I
would be
would
cool.
appreciate if our participants can turn on their camera
Hi.
because of course
Good
our
afternoon. Good afternoon.
because, but the challenge is the connection in the Philippines can be
Yeah.
unstable. Some people go to the top of their houses or to the mountains just to get a good signal, or climbing on the top of the trees, not because they're
Oh, wow,
but
really?
there are some, yes, I have some students who are doing online course because of course all of the studies are done online, but then the networks here it's not really good, so that's also the reason. Yeah, so I'm just setting up our Facebook live so that we will be live in a few seconds, And also to our participants who are already on Zoom, good day to everyone. John Christopher, good day to you. And I have also Andrew with me. So I'm just setting up our Facebook Live because not all have the access to Zoom. I, so you are in
Um,
Heidelberg, right?
yes, Heidelberg, Germany.
Yes, one of the beautiful places I've been to when I was there in Mannheim, and that is where our national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal, composed poem about the flowers of Heidelberg. I'm sure you know about it, the flowers of Heidelberg, and it
Yes,
is very
and I can see it originally here.
yes, yes,
For real.
yes. Her in the surgery or ophthalmology school where he did some clinical studies.
Yeah, it's not far away from the place where I live here in Heidelberg, so I'm quite near downtown. So it takes me by bike maybe 10 minutes to pass by the place where Jose Rizal has been.
Okay, yeah. So we're just the Facebook Live. So good day to everyone. Yes, because we're also reading our comments at the Facebook page. So that's also the reason why we have this. And then I'm closing some of my apps.
You can hear me properly, right?
Yes, I can hear you well. Now we are live on Facebook. Good. Welcome to another edition of Pinoy Athletics Track Talk. And this time it will be another unique and interesting discussion with our guest this afternoon there in the Philippines. We've been talking to different personalities in Philippine athletics, from our Olympic champions, from our legends, from different resource speakers, coaches, and stakeholders related to Philippine athletics and even to other related disciplines. For this edition, we are happy that we are going to another paradigm shift on our discussion this afternoon. With me is an athlete from Germany, but also having her roots from the Philippines from her mother's side. She
Hi.
Bachelor in Mathematics at the University of Heidelberg in Heidelberg, Germany, and also the 2019 Sean Roden Classic champion in the bikini bodybuilding division, where she gained the prestigious IFBB Pro card. For those who doesn't know, IFBB Pro card is the professional status of the IFBB Pro League, biggest bodybuilding federations in the world. If you're being a professional card holder, it means that you have a higher status in the bodybuilding and fitness community. With that, I would like to introduce to you our guest speaker this afternoon, Andrea Breihof from Germany. Hello, Andrea.
Hi, thank you so much for your invitation. I appreciate it very much, especially because I'm now into bodybuilding and I've been in different disciplines before, after field and track.
That's nice. So perhaps while later perhaps we can show to our audience some of your photos. She's on Instagram, so you can also follow her. We what is your Instagram again, Andrea?
So my official IFBB Pro Instagram, you just
Yeah.
type my name, Andrea Breihof,
Mhm.
pro, and you'll find me immediately. You will might find another account which is called Prime Drea, because this is a bit more my personal account.
Oh, nice, nice. Okay, so to continue our discussion this afternoon. So first is, of course, we know that you're a also a professional bodybuilding athlete, so and there in Germany, and it's a quite interest to know that that you're studying mathematics. And so the first thing is, what is your first foundations of sport? How did you become a track and field athlete, and as you mentioned, as a swimmer? So perhaps you can give us a highlight on this part of your journey.
So, I have to start at the very beginning. The most reason I would say is my dad, my father. He used to be a competitive swimmer, and he was friends with Osa Puna. She used to be in the Olympic Games for swimming, freestyle. She won 3 times third placement, and she was one of my first coaches. So before I knew how to walk, they already sent me to swimming. And beside of this, it was very important also to gain some strength, even I was a little kid. And I got already introduced some little things like push-ups, running, and already an introducement going to athletics. But during school time, first grade, I realized I'm quick and I love to run. So they put me into school competitions where each school compete against each other. And this was also the time here in Germany. We also have a program which called Youth Trains for Olympia. And I was put into program, and one of my strongest fields was a 100-meter sprint, or at the very beginning 50-meter sprint. So that's how I started.
So that's a good thing that you consider athletics had a firm foundation from your family. So what happened after your athletics career? So what made, unfortunately, you mentioned that you need to stop and then you some injury. So what? Hope you don't mind. What happened?
Oh,
The reason why you stopped or shifted to another discipline.
yeah, so um, it's a quite long story. I try to make it short. So, my very first sport was track and field, which helped me a lot during other disciplines. I was like really, really interested into different kind of sports, and I had lots of advantage because I was fast with, I was trained well in my club. So my last sport before bodybuilding was trying to do rugby, because before this time I was nominated for the national squad because of my fast running. And there I injured my knee. This happened while tackling, and I had to get 2 operations. This was 2016, and this was the time when the first doctor who I had told me it's over with sports. Uh, you as an athlete, you can imagine how it was for me. It was, to be honest, very horrible. I couldn't accept that, and it says I destroyed everything in my knee except bone fracture. I ruptured all tensions, and after the first operation, I was limping, and it says I have actually I'm disabled on my the injury was on my left knee. And I was, on one hand, I was very unlucky because I had to stop my sports, but then because of rehab, I continue only strength training anyway to any sports I did before, especially next to field and track. I always trained legs, trained strength training in the gym to be the quickest and fastest and strongest. And then I was lucky, thanks to my physiotherapist. He introduced me to another doctor who used to be also an athlete. I'm sorry, and yeah, and he operated me again. I got operated with 2 doctors. So the whole 2016 into 2017, I was just in rehab and learning how to walk, just and to run. And yeah, and we found a way how I can come back to sports, but anymore, not really anymore back to dynamic sports where you change direction very quick. More into controlled movements like bodybuilding. And up from the time where I got operated, actually my bodybuilding path started. And yeah, 2017, I was still in rehab. I could work again. Beside of my studies, I work as a waitress, or in general gastronomy in the hotel, so I can finance my studies and my sports. Anyway, just done my rehab, and there was a coach, and several coaches already asked me if I'm interested into fitness because I already had the whole muscle package from my sports before, especially from field and track. I have proper squats, quads, proper hamstrings, calves, those things which many a bodybuilder wanted to have and work hard for it. and they just put me on diet. End of 2017, 2018, beginning 2018, I had my first competition, just with the muscle mass, which I gained over the years, through running and strength training, not specialized on bodybuilding. And I won. I won two competitions, which was very surprising. And at this moment, I knew, okay, I want to do it professionally. This was my only way to do it professional. Because to be honest, till today, I'm just running max about 80%.
I see. So it's really a quite of a journey because, of course, injuries can be really psychologically and physiological, and of course, mentally devastating to an athlete, especially high hopes, especially when you're in athletics, and then also you consider also rugby, and then all these things happen. So you've been to bodybuilding. You started bodybuilding in 2017 as a competitive athlete, or how many years have you been training as a bodybuilder?
This is a good question. So, as a bodybuilder, actually, after my competition 2018 spring, before this time, I did strength training, but those strength training was always fitting to my current sports.
I see. So it's only like almost like 4 to 5 years that you've been really doing bodybuilding as a specialized discipline or profession.
Yes, as a professional since 2019, end of 2019, let's say 2 months before Corona appeared, and bodybuilding less than 4 years.
Yes, I see. And we must say also that she earned her pro card status at the 2019 Sean Roden Classic in Manila, Philippines.
Yes.
Definitely, your study wasn't there because, of course, I'm already studying elsewhere. But yes, that's where she had the pro bodybuilding card status for IFBB Pro League, which is also the stepping stone for the Olympia, which is the biggest bodybuilding competition in the world as of this time. So now we already talked about the your journey towards athletics or track and field, then the challenges and the adversity that you had encountered after your career and how to rise up. Now, what things that you are doing in order to make out of really of a bodybuilder? What makes a bodybuilding athlete, and does it have any relevance or relationship in athletics, especially for those young athletes or those athletes who already said that they already lapse their career in athletics? So how does your paradigm shifted from athletics then to bodybuilding, the values towards it?
So you mean the values? Oh, because thanks to athletics, for me to be a bodybuilder, it's I would say quite easier. It's not really easy, but quite easier. It helps me a lot. Before bodybuilding, I took care. Before the bodybuilding time, I always took care for my nutrition. To be constant. This is the very important thing to appear all trainings to have a right mindset. As you said, psychology has also a big impact into sports, not only nutrition, how you train, not only talent, accounts also your mindset, um, like to calm down before a run, to be mentally prepared, especially when you start your diet, you have to be mentally prepared. Beside their having, because diet is a big deal too, not only training. Beside this, of course, you have a less good mood, you're down with the calories, you have to um, stick on your plan and stay strong to continue. And this reminds me also the time when we're running and training, when we have last meters to do and you feel like very exhausted and you didn't want to, it felt like your body don't want to continue, but you force yourself, come, keep on going, you know you can do that, you can do that, you train, you change. So thanks to athletics, it helped me a lot to stay on track for my current sports. And it's also easier for me to get into diet because before new season began for general competition, I already took care for having right nutrition and to get get better fitness before the actual season started. And the values also is respect a lot if you're competing, also helping to each other. This is something quite new which I brought in the bodybuilding scene, especially here in Germany, and also the Pinay, the Filipino thinking, like being kind, smile, not to fight each other, even we are all competing for the first placement, and to think positive. This is very important to whatever the whatever situation you are, to think positive, to stay constant.
Thanks, Andrea. So that keeps us reminded that the or the structure of professional athlete is really the character and also the discipline. Of course, it's always a common thing that if you're doing bodybuilding, of course, you need to have the nutrition, you need to do the training, you need to do other activities such as also your your psychological balance, and also doing your full-time job, or which is a student. So it's easy to always say that bodybuilders just only do bodybuilding. So how can you for example, for someone who would like to be just to be fit or to have a better body or to have a better health, how can you manage the time about training, preparation of food, and also the studies and also your personal life?
That's a very, very good question. So, to be honest, even the professionals who are have already their experience how to balance everything, you still struggle a bit with your family life, your social life, because you don't go party. Anyway, if you study, you don't go party. Of course, maybe once or twice a year. And you don't drink alcohol. You really make sure next day you are productive. And in my case is a bit different, because most professional are only professional or already had a degree and work at their profession, or yeah, well, are very well sponsored and can just concentrate on their sport. So maybe I can give you an example. 2019, which was the best year of my life, because after like 2020 it was COVID. I unfortunately I just had one competition in Alicante, but 2019, it sounds crazy a bit, but this is how it goes. So when I wake up in the morning, I my alarm clock started between 4 and 5 o'clock. And then what I did, I started doing my math equations, because weekly we have mini tests and we had to send our solutions. Afterwards, I went for training like cardio. This was the time when I was on prep. And 2019 was the whole year prepping, which is also unusual. Usually you choose a certain time in a year, like just spring, just autumn, or autumn and winter or summer. But I was competing from January till December, because I really wanted to win the pro card. My biggest dream and wish is to be on in the Olympic stage of Joe Weider in the States. So because of this dream, I managed to continue. So this was the start of my daily life, and I went to university, had my lessons, and in between the lessons, I tried to sleep on the table like this. Or eat, so because you have to take care for your meals. During this time, I had meals 4 till 5 times, and you also have to balance the time between 3 and 5 hours between the meals. There is a break, no snacks. And it was quite exhausting, because your brain needs also a lot of energy to think. And after class, I went to training or did a mini power nap, maybe 20 minutes. Went to training, very concentrated. After training, I went home and continued my studies and slept. So this is one day with just sports and studying. I also had some other days where I'm working, especially on weekends. So I worked the whole day. And while I did this, I had to take my nutrition on a certain time and make sure or try to find a way to not to have too many stress hormone, because my sleep was quite short. It was sometimes 5 hours, but it worked well, but you really have to do right time management and advanced planning. So I planned my meal preps like 3 days advance. So I knew, okay, I have a time gap between, let's say, just an example, between 2 till 4 p.m. And that's the time where I start cooking. I plan when I'm going for food shopping. And as you can see, I have less time for social life, but I took my time and I had more quality time. So thanks to my mom, thanks to my family, thanks to my friends who have a big understanding to that. So what we did is like combining, like there were sometimes 1 or 2 days in a week or in every 3 weeks where I have free time. So I went to my mom's place and I combined my training and visiting with my mom, or some days I had so-called cheat meals where I can eat whatever I wanted, depending on my shape. So I did this with my friends together, or my friends went while I was training. They trained too next to me, or uh, there's a way to find if you want to. But then if you want to, then it's easy to stick in. So you have to be. I mean, you have to accept your situation if you have a certain goal. And I know my goal is quite unusual, having um, a bachelor's degree in this field, plus being a pro. Usually you do either being pro or having a degree or working for a degree.
Thank you. So kindly, we will highlight your last statement before you have goals. You said that it's about having the perspective and also the right attitudes towards your training, and at the same time making a quality time, meaning that you, if you organize well, that you plan your things at early, or at the same time also have the perspective that you want this, you want to have this, you need to work for it, but also work it in full order and full system.
Right,
Yes, that's also the part of being yourself as an athlete, especially for bodybuilding, where you need to structure your preparation, your training, your meals, also your social life. Because of course, it's not only just lifting weights, it's not only eating and or taking natural supplements, but also having the balance of your family, your friends, because it's not only, although it's an individual sport, also the social life matters, because it will be sounding like crazy if you're not interacting with someone else or with others. So you mentioned earlier that during the transition from athletics to bodybuilding, a good coach. So for us coaches, what do you think would be the best attitude or the ideal character of a coach, not only in bodybuilding, not only athletics, but in the whole principles of training and also shaping the athlete that like happened to you?
that's a very good question. When I started with bodybuilding, I had actually, I just had two coaches in my life in bodybuilding. So the first coach at the very beginning, it was very good working together. Um, I'm sorry for my English in, in this part.
It's all right.
If you don't understand me, please let me know. um, yeah, so in my opinion, first of all, it's very important that you have a very good understanding to each other, that the coach understand your lifestyle and your goals. And I think it's also important for the coach that he can work properly with you, that the athlete exactly can tell you what's your goal and what you want to reach. And if you're um, ready, or if you accept to go to a certain path, like organizing yourself. And if someone asks, come, let's go party on Friday night, that you are ready to say, no, I can't. To be strong enough to every offer you get, like having a nice afternoon with coffee and cake, you can say, yes, I joined for coffee, but I can't have any cake. So what I'm trying to say is, I would I would say it's very in my sports, it's easy to choose to coach, fortunately. So first, what I'm looking for, if I have a great understanding with a coach, that's what I'm trying to say. So it's easier to find a certain training find a certain way to have good rest days or um, recovery, because this counts too for, as you know, for better, how to say in English, I'm sorry, to get better for the next training, to get stronger. What I'm trying to say is like coaches should push the athlete to telling you can't be lazy. If you really want to earn a certain medal, then you have to move. You can't just sit around and wait till the coach tell you what to do. You also have to think with the coach together. But on the other hand, um, a coach shouldn't be too stressful, because psychology is also a big deal. I can tell it from the sprints which I had when I had a bad mood or I got too much pressure. My time was so bad, and my start, especially my start. This was one of my strength to start the first 50 meters. So it's all about balance, and I think if the coach really understand the mindset of the athlete, because every character is different, then it's already a very good beginning, and to define exactly what the goal is and what it takes, so both sides knows what's next, I would say.
Thank you. So it means really that it's really the coach that that provides you with a good experience and positive values at the same time, that joins your journey and always and constantly reminding you about your goals, and it's not just only just telling what should be done, but also joining you and walking together, or sharing the journey together, which is, I think, a very commendable statement, especially for aspiring coaches, that we should join the athlete for their journey so that they can really see the better perspective that they would like to have on.
Yeah.
And also, one thing, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, and second part of our discussion is also accommodating the questions of our guests both on Zoom and also on Facebook. That's why I had my time check that our first part will be like only 30 minutes, so that we have the 15 minutes for the question and answer for our audiences both on Facebook and on Zoom. I would like also to introduce our friends who are here. Brian Joseph Yalung of Sports Bites Philippines. He is a sport journalist in the Philippines, covering different disciplines. And elsewhere is Coach York Tamayo of Team Scholar Athletics in Calamba City, Philippines, where in south of Manila, where I'm the province where Calamba is also, of course, out of curiosity, well, the town where I was born. It's in San Pablo. So
Oh, nice to hear.
so it's a good thing. And with me is Miss Antoinette Tumambing and also Jackie Junio of the Department of Education, who's a close friend of mine, who's also a former varsity swimmer for the University of the Philippines. So thank you for joining us. And Nathan John, is this Nathan John Futalan of also an alumni of the University of the Philippines? If yes, please comment if I have my right guess, if this is Nathan Jan Futalan. Anyway, so I give now the microphone to um, Yalong for his questions. Brian Yalong of Sports Bites, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Coach. Good morning. Good afternoon from the Philippines, Miss Andrea. Just wanted to ask. Well, I've gone through your profile. I'm a bit amazed by your shift from athletics to
Thank you.
bodybuilding. Okay. So I couldn't help. Um, as you said, we're in the pandemic right now. Has anything been altered when it comes to your training regimen or your diets? Because all of us are limited a bit right now when it comes to exercise. Has anything been altered on your end?
I hope I understood you properly, because the I couldn't hear you properly on the speaker. So
Oh,
your question was, what should we do during COVID time, and
uh,
what's our alternative?
no, no. I mean, I was asking if anything has been altered in your usual training methods, routines because of the COVID.
Oh, so I have negative effects because of the
Yes.
pandemic. Oh
Yes.
yes, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. So my training wasn't perfectly, but I try, or I made sure that I still continue training, which was more alternative. So what happened is on the first lockdown, what I did. So to make it clear, I have a coach, but sometimes I take a break from the coaching because I have also some knowledge and I do try some certain things too. Like right now, I'm training a so-called Y3T training. And when the first lockdown appeared, I was anyway already off season, so-called off season, so which means I'm in the calorie plus when it comes to food, and my training should started heavier. So I had no equipment at home, and as you know, I'm still a student, and I don't belong to the other pro who has their own gym and fancy stuff. But I had a friend who was very interested into powerlifting, and we found a way how to train, still train heavy. Of course, not everything perfectly, but we went to the forest and we trained with tree trunks. For me, as a bikini in my class, which is the smallest class and less muscular class, in my favorite class, of course, otherwise I wouldn't be there, um, was quite unusual to train that heavy, but I tried to find a way or proper weights with different tree trunks. Once I think I posted on Instagram, maybe you can look up later if you want to. So I did some deadlifts with a tree trunk and a rope, or my friend helped me to put one tree trunk on my shoulder so I can do some squatting. And what I did and what I still do, I take a lot of elements from field and track training into my current training because my body works a bit different. Since I do sports my whole life and I have a certain, how to say, experience with different kind of trainings, which are more for dynamic running training, like volleyball running, explosive, aerob, anaerob, all these different kind of sports. I combine it with bodybuilding because if I do only bodybuilding, I keep my shape, but I realized if I still include what I've learned in the form of sports, then I'm not only strong, I also have a better shape, especially when it comes to my leg training. And that's what I did. I trained in the forest and yeah, Filipino style, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I can tell you funny stories because I didn't grow up my whole life in the Philippines, but I spent big times in my childhood in the Philippines, and I was on the beaches, and my uncle taught me how to build little balls with the coconut tree and so on, and and there you run a lot, you play outside, thanks to my roots, and it helped me a lot too in Corona time. I realized um, many Germans who are used only going to the gym struggle a lot mentally. It was hard for me too. I need sports for my balance. I need brain sport and body sport.
That's true.
But because of field and track, I shifted my training a bit. So I even got better in my quads. I got more definition, which was surprising. And I could improve because I have new incentives on my body, or let's say old incentives combined with bodybuilding. Yeah, this was my first lockdown. Then after a while, we could go back to the gyms and I could train again. And yeah, then my training was not proper and nice, and I could compete at least one competition. This was in Spain, in Alicante. This was actually my pro debut. I also had already pro competition after winning my pro card in the Philippines, and I made the seventh placement, but I do not really count because I wasn't training on a Olympia qualification at this moment. So actually my pro debut was in Alicante, and even it wasn't optimal from the first lockdown, I improved and I was in the middle from 30, I think 30 or 31, 32 competitors. I made a middle field, 16th place win. It's very unusual for me. I'm used to go into finals during the amateur time, but this is also a new thing which you have to learn as an athlete. When you level up, you calm down, accept your situation, accept that you have to gain or get better to stay in the league, and then keep on going. There's always how to say improvement, space for improvement, and yeah. Then second lockdown, fortunately, a really nice woman, thanks to her, Ingrid. She has a private gym, a very old school, typical gym, and she let me train there. So it's only me in the gym. We make sure we um, go after all regulation here. The law here in Germany, you get high punished if you don't follow the regulations. And thanks to her, my training in the second lockdown, it's much more optimized. Of course, not perfectly optimized because I have to schedule my training with the others. Without Corona lockdown, I could go anytime to the gym, which was fitting to my meal time, fitting when was my last cardio and my recovery. But still, there's a way of, you just have to be more creative in your training.
True. Alright. Okay, thank you, Miss Andrea. Coach, I'll give the others a chance. I'll just save my questions for later.
Okay, thank you, Sir Brian. So
Thank
coming
you.
on, with the next question is from Jackie Junio. So her question is, what is the meaning of bodybuilding for you? So that is her question.
That's a very good question too. I love to answer this too. So I would define two types of bodybuilding. One who does bodybuilding, and the one who also competes, so competitive bodybuilding. So in general, I would say bodybuilding is like you try to have a certain shape, because we have different kind of classes. Like my class for women, bikini class, and wellness class is more muscular, bigger legs, and then the figured all over muscles, and then going up till really big bodybuilding for women. Same to men. So uh, first of all, bodybuilding means to me when you have a certain idea how you want to look like when it comes to muscularity, and you try to have an overall balance of your body. So the so-called X shape. So you have your V on the upper body, and a turnaround V on your lower body. And real bodybuilding means to me you track your meals, take care for healthy nutrition, good nutrition for your muscle mass, constant training, constant recovery, and yes, and improvement. So this is for me bodybuilding, building up your body in a certain level. And so, if there's New Year's Eve, I also drink one wine or so, but in general, no drugs, no alcohol, very healthy lifestyle, calm health lifestyle, and you can also have party in a different way. So, but take care for your sleep, and this is for me bodybuilding. And competitive bodybuilding all includes what I just said, but also there it's more exact. You count any little calorie. All you write when I started with competitive bodybuilding, I wrote down each meal which I ate, each drink I drank, whether it's coffee, tea. I make sure I have enough liquid in my system, so I drink at least 3 liters during winter time. I wrote everything down, what I did, what time, what I eat when I recover, and being constant and to improve. Yeah, this is this is my definition of bodybuilding. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Andrea, and Jackie for that question. So the next question is, of course, we still have, I think, we will accommodate more for the next 20 minutes. So from Coach York, can you consider that bodybuilding is an injury-free physical activity?
Oh, I want to say I love this live stream because they're really good coming up questions. It depends. With my personal experience, it's for me less probability to get injured, like in if you train on a field, because you do control movements. So when I remember once I injured myself, I didn't warm up properly, and then I went on the field and start one run max, and I ripped some muscle fibers. It wasn't big injury, but in bodybuilding, it can't happen very fast because you try to put permanent tension while your movements to let your muscle grow or get better definition. But you can also injure yourself if you don't properly warm up and suddenly try to train max. But usually you don't do that. You go for you have a certain amount of sets, and you heighten the weight set per set, or um, training per training. Or what I do before I start with my training, I have my mobility and dynamic stretching, and then I put up the weights little by little.
Okay, yes. So it's really about progression and making sure that you practice proper safety, especially for young athletes that, of course, we always said many times that weight training and strength and conditioning doesn't stunt the growth and development of your athlete, and then it doesn't make them injured or having that side effects of instead of those all the stereotypes about weight training, as long as you're doing it properly. I must say that I can recommend the strength and training anatomy Frederick de la Ville because it's very visual and provides a better understanding on the basic lifts. So, before we continue with another set of questions, I would like also to greet our participants or our audiences on Facebook Live. Happy listening and viewing to Ces Peria, Alexander Reyes Jr., Soren Dila Alfonso. Afternoon to all of you there on Facebook Live. Also, you can follow Andrea on Instagram, instagram.com, andreabreihof.pro. So that's her page. It's already on the Pinoy Athletics Facebook page as well. Then we continue with our questions, and then we would like also our other participants here on Zoom, aside from Coach Brian, Coach York. We have also Jan Christopher Santos. Jan, if you can show up yourself, if your connection is good, please do so. And Coach Nathan Jan. Am I right, Coach Nathan Jan, that you are Mr. Nathan Jan Futalan of the University of the Philippines? Because also I know other Coach Jay Futalan. So I would like just to clarify because there are many, might be another Nathan Jan elsewhere. So while we are waiting for another set of questions for our last 15 minutes, I would like again to give to Sir Brian for his second question.
Right, thank you, Coach. Miss Andrea, I just wanted to ask earlier, were there any competitions that were affected as a result of this COVID on your end?
Oh yes, 2020. I plan to compete in the New York Pro, in Puerto Rico, in the Philippines. I was really eager to go to the Philippines, but unfortunately, some competitions were canceled. And for me to enter the America was very hard because the borders are at the moment closed for Europeans.
So how about here in 2021? Are there any competitions lined up that are still you might join?
Yes, they're lined up. So I already, coincidentally, I talked yesterday with my coach,
Okay.
which competition I'm going to take, because there's still a competition like Portugal in July, coming up Alicante. But due to COVID situation, I stayed on the plus with my nutrition and focused more on my private life. Like, beside of sports, I'm very into AI and thinking how I go through with my degree and so on. So I decided to compete in the earliest time on the fourth quarter of the year, which would be Philippines in October, muscle contest. Yes, but I can't wait for it. And I found one very interesting competition, which is not 100% sure. It would be in December in Paraguay. If I would have the ability go into the States, I would compete the rest of the year in the States. But as I said, at the moment, the borders are unfortunately closed. So I have to accept the time, which is not bad because now I can concentrate on my improvement.
All right. Thank you, Miss Andrea. Thank you, Coach Arnell. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Sir Brian. Now, second, yes, Jackie said, hope to see you soon in the Philippines. Jackie, do you have other questions and others? No, it's Miss Antoinette already disconnected. So, Jackie, do you have questions? You're on mute. Okay, so I think so she doesn't have an connection. So, how the question of Jackie, has bodybuilding influenced your values and your philosophy in life?
Yes.
What way? Of course, we all. I think you already discussed it earlier, but I guess is there any specific philosophy that you can highlight during the your of your profession as a bodybuilding athlete?
Yes. Um, as I said before, lots of values which I had in athletics, I took with me to bodybuilding. And while bodybuilding, I learned you really, really have to believe in yourself. No matter what people say to you, no matter what the current situation is, you have to believe in your abilities. You have first, you need a vision of the position where you want to be, and just continue believing. Maybe sometimes what I do, and to be honest, every morning when I wake up, I just keep telling myself, you will make it to Olympia, you will make it to Olympia, you can do it. Even certain things won't go perfectly, you can still do it. On plus, what I have also learned, what I also did, there was a certain time where I stressed myself a lot and I was pushing very hard myself. Anyway, you have to push yourself hard, but try to reduce all the stress hormone, like giving your own stress. So just be very positive and believe in yourself.
Okay, thank you, Andrea, for answering Jackie's question. Yes, it's
I
like that.
hope it was a good
Yeah,
question.
but
Sorry to interrupt, a good answer.
yeah, actually, it's quite fun because, of course, it's important that you, as you mentioned, that you need to be yourself, and then you must be focused really on on your goals. It's easy to say, but of course, the most important thing is you really live on it, and you make sure that you also understand the challenges that is coming. Because without acceptance of the challenge or without accepting the truth, I believe it will be a hard time as well to embrace also the situation that you need to work on. So I would like also to acknowledge Coach Jonah Elisa of De La Salle for joining us. Thank you, Coach Jonah. And then according, okay, Jackie's mic is broken. So I think this is the last question from her. How do you see yourself in relation to non-bodybuilders? So that's
Um, what do you mean by relation?
I guess it's how see you, or should we say, of course, different people have their different perceptions or attitudes towards bodybuilders, especially for a female bodybuilder. Even, of course, we have different categories: the bikini, the figure wellness, figure, and also the bodybuilding itself. So how do you see yourself on this kind of, not really prejudice, but of course perception?
I try to be never prejudiced, but of course sometimes it could happen. Um, oh, it's first time someone asked me that, to be honest.
Mm,
So there's certain times, sometimes where I think, oh wow, I wouldn't do this. Like I do cheat meal. I love chocolate too. I love pulveron. I could eat it every day. Um, but I make sure I have my minerals, my vitamins. And sometimes when I see people how they treat themselves, uh, I'm really thinking, wow, I couldn't do that to myself. Um, I mean, it's not only about sports; it's also about your health, right?
mm,
And this is what I'm thinking, or like we are all humans, we are made to move. So sometimes I think like I really don't want to sound prejudiced, really. It's sometimes I'm like, why aren't you worrying about your health? Like maybe you should have a little walk per day once at least. So it's for me very unusual seeing people who really, really do not care for their nutrition, or really do not any kind of sports. Um, because my environment consists of people who do sports and who takes care for their health. It's how I raised up by my mom. She was very strict with the nutrition, thanks to my mom. And thanks to my mom, I love Filipino food.
mhm,
Philippine nutrition is perfect for bodybuilding. When it came to diet, I had no big struggle because it consists of rice, fish, and vegetables. Perfect. And this is some parts where I think, wow, how can you do that on your with you? But on the other side, you really need to understand that you are in your own world. I move in my own world, and everybody has their own interest, different kind of interest, different kind of priorities, and um, I don't have to adapt their life, and they don't have to adapt my life. But we can give each other, support. Like when I think about people who don't do professional sport, then they also help me to think also a bit out of the box, not only focusing only bodybuilding. I love the sports, it's my lifestyle, but it's on this out of this world, there's some more things to do. And I try to balance it, and plus, but still to stick to my strict plan. I know it sounds uneasy, but it can work if you plan it.
okay, thank you, Andrea, and thank you, Jackie, for that question. I hope it answered questions as well. So another thing also, okay, I would like to, Nathan John, if you're there, please say hi, and then I guess he's yeah, perhaps we can, because I was thinking that I was thinking if he is the brother of the strength and conditioning athlete that I know in the university, which is Jay Futalan. So anyway, Sir Brian requested for last question. Can we hope that we can extend for like 5 to 10 minutes if you permit, or you need?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, yeah, we can extend for 5 to 10 minutes before we wrap up. Then okay, so Coach Brian, last question.
Thank you, Coach Arnel. No, actually, these are just short questions for you, Miss Andrea. Since you're in powerlifting, I'm just curious, what was the heaviest you tried to lift?
Oh, to be honest, I lifted very heavy before bodybuilding. After bodybuilding, because I had to take care for my symmetry to have the X, because on the middle part of your body, on the how to say, on the core, you try to be very slim, so you really don't train the side muscle part. I know it's not really healthy, so this is what I have to say. There's some other parts of bodybuilding like this. When I would be a normal athlete, I mean, if I would be an athlete, not bodybuilding, then of course I would train this part to be compact and strong. But when I leg press, sitting leg press before bodybuilding, it was 215 kg. More couldn't be because the machine hadn't more. And after my operation, um, like 2 days ago, I had a very long time gap between my last leg press training, but 45 degrees, so my feet were up. I leg press 180 kg, but I won't get further because I took care for my cemetery. Plus, I have to be also responsible for my knee and lifting for squats after my operation, which was sumo squats, like wide standing, was 140 kg.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Ma'am Andrea. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so next question. I guess this is the last one before we have a wrap up from Jan Christopher Santos. Hi Andrea, you have mentioned that you do home workouts even without any equipment. Is there a particular equipment, free or bodyweight exercise that you like the most to maintain your amazing fitness?
So coincidentally, a week ago, I got sponsored some equipment, which made me very happy, and I'm so thankful at this part. Actually, we're in my I
Background, yeah.
call it home office gym. I can show you around quick. Um, so what I got at the moment, I could have heavier weights, but I put all together. So my training is more optimal. So this is my barbell, which I got. Can you see it?
Yes, yes.
Yes, and with the weights, and I have some dumbbells. Um, I got here the bench.
Hmm.
This is my
Lifting
lifting
belt.
belt for
Yes.
protection. This is not really bodybuilding style, but because of athletics, I do also jump squats. So I got this box and the dumbbells, and which is also not typical bodybuilding, but I still train. I have my vest here. Can you see that?
Yeah, the best, yes. Hmm.
Yes, weight vest, and
Yeah.
I use also a lot of bands, Gucci bands. I show you.
Especially for the bands. I think that's the
Yeah,
one
this
that
bands for my shoulders, like
yes,
doing lateral raises. Yeah.
I think the bands that is the most ideal one, especially in the context of the Filipino athletes who doesn't have the capacity to have been that they can borrow or to have a spot their weight equipment, even if it's just only Olympic bar. The common thing here we have here in there in the Philippines, sometimes we put cement on the cans of paints. I'm sure you've seen it in some videos. I think that's a good thing. But of course, as I mentioned to the coaches here, I believe the one thing that we can highlight is the use also of the weight because rubber bands is very commonly seen in any Philippine market or in any wet market because it's also related to the toys of the children, what we call the slingshot, the one that's with
Yes.
it's very popular. It's and even just the rubber bands from the old tire tubes that will help as well. So as you the most important thing in this pandemic is really to make sure that you still move around and you stay active. I'm also guilty that I also gained some weight because I was in the past I can bike like 4 to 5 times a week and then or like every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then I still I do some swimming like 3 times a week. Just I'm not a good swimmer, but only to because I took swimming lessons during summer, but then but because of the pandemic, it happened. So, but the most important thing, like on weekends, if you can do hiking or you can do the rubber bands, I must tell, especially to Coach John, I think I'm sure you're aware of the orange rubber bands, the one we call for the tirador, the one for the sleep that we
Yes.
for our school children, for our pupil athletes. Yes, the junkyard gym coach. Yes, according to Jackie.
I
So thank
think
yeah. I hope Nathan, sorry, John Christopher, that that Andrea answered your question, that how to maximize the equipment that we can have from outside of, that you can still train even that you're on the comfort of your home. Another option is, of course, body weight exercises. Of course, the squat jumps, the crunches, the core, etc. Of course, even for us, it's even just it's body weight. It's still very, very um, enjoying. Or I must say that it can really make you have that sore but good feeling after exercise.
yeah. Before I got the barbell and the weights, I use water bottle.
Yes,
So
yes,
then I can see, or I took sand. I took a
yes,
normal plastic, put sand
yes.
in it. How I train, and all about in muscle improvement is all about mind muscle connection. So
Mhm.
as long as you put tension on your muscle and be constant in the movements while you do certain repeats, it also already helps a lot.
Okay, that's good. Thank you, Andrea. So, Andrew, questions, or shall we conclude or summarize our discussion this afternoon? Andrew, are you there? Okay, yeah. So he said that it's okay. So, okay. So to sum up, I guess we learned three different things from you. First is, of course, the most important sport is really to have a good structure, meaning that there's no such thing as competitive environment at a young age, enjoying and having the fun time with your family, and how your family influence you to be active. That's the first one, because based on your story, it's your family, your friends, your parents who help you to do sport, not to be an athlete, but to enjoy life and to have a good and solid foundation. Second is how to face adversity, meaning, of course, after the rehabilitation, etc., to have that mindset that you can get over any kind of situation and to find way to overcome that adversity. Like you mentioned, you had your how you recovered. And the third one is also finding a good coach that will join you in the whole process and the whole journey of your athletic career. That the coach know also your feelings, ideals, and aspirations, and know how to treat you, or I mean, to train you scientifically and objectively, and
Yes,
at the same time sure that all the goals are set. And the fourth one, as you mentioned, is believing on yourself and always having that constant reminder and constant effort to be reminded of that you should do, what you don't need to do, and to learn to say no on the habits that will make you in unproductive, and or ruin your goal, or your competition goals. One is making sure that you do things with all the good character and all the things in full responsibility. So, and the thing is, I guess, I have one last question before, although I wrap it up. Is it really possible that to train in bodybuilding and fitness in a natural way? Of course, also notions about supplementation and the other things related to enhancements, which I don't prejudice. It's up to the choice of the athlete. Of course, we have different perceptions and attitudes towards it. But of course, on your case, is it really possible to train?
absolutely. In this case, but I have to tell you that you need a lot of patience. So, I'm over 30 already,
Mm-hmm,
and I trained all my life constantly.
mm-hmm,
So it takes time for muscle growth. It really takes time.
mm-hmm. course, and it's really about the determination and also the discipline to
Yes,
stay on the course, especially if you're aim, as you mentioned, you always said that you aim for Olympia, you aim for Olympia. So it's really a constant reminder. So you need to make sure that you do things well, but also that your health is uncompromised.
yes. And it's also about your inner drive to keep on going. I remember the time before my math studies, I took care for my father. So
Mhm.
my training wasn't really optimal, but I wasn't yet a pro at this time. I never expected that I would go to bodybuilding and be a pro. And my inner heart, I had such a drive, always sticking to my gym training plan. And I couldn't tell why. I only know I wanted to do that. And one day I knew something is out there for me in future. And now I understand today where now I am. And it was all worth, because I remember during this time, some of my friends told me, why you are pressuring yourself. You had a whole working day taking care for your father. And instead of going home and sleep, I went to the gym. And now I know it's all worth. So whatever goals you have, doesn't matter what age you have, doesn't matter what the society tells you to do. If you have a certain wish you want to do and you're ready to do it, then just start and believe in yourself.
With that statement, I think that really inspires most of the athletes and coaches that we have here, and puts a point on our discussion this afternoon. So again, thank you very much, Miss Andrea Breihof,
Thank you
for
too.
accommodating Pinoy Athletics for another edition of Track Talk Tuesdays. We would like to thank again as well our participants both on Zoom and also on Facebook. Our co-host Andrew, Jackie, John, Nathan, John, earlier Antoinette, Coach York, and also our audiences on Facebook, which are Ses, Alexander, Zoren, Catherine K, and others who had seen our broadcast. With that, we end our discussion this afternoon. Maraming salamat, God bless, and stay healthy. Let us keep playing and keep safe to everywhere we are. Maraming salamat. Mabuhay po tayong lahat. Mabuhay ang atletang Pilipino. This is Coach Ernest Labara from the University of Physical Education, Budapest, Hungary, saying thank you and good day.
Salamat po. Bye-bye.
Salamat.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Andrea, could you hold on for like 5 minutes
Yes.
more? Yeah, just to... Okay, to everyone, you're excused. Uh, Live stream is just
Coach,
over.
can we get a screenshot with Miss Andrea?
Yeah, sure. Andrea, please take a strike a pose for Coach Brian for his news article.
All right. On three.
Yes.
One, two.
I'm sorry. Hold on.
No,
I didn't understand.
Okay, sorry.
just smile.
Oh, okay. Yes.
All
Okay.
right.
Okay for the photo. Yeah.
On three. One, two. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
Nice meeting you,
Okay.
Miss Andrea. Thank you, Coach Ernel. Good to see you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Andrew, you can stop the recording.
I didn't record.
No worries, Andrew.